Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
Good morning, it's 7:30 on Saturday the 23rd of January. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, never quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land, and as you can see it's a bit white looking. Issues this morning getting into the gate with that padlock which had frozen, and took about 5 minutes to try and thaw it out with some de-icer. Need to do the same with my fingers now because they're wet and freezing. I've got a few bits in the car that I need to get the wheelbarrow for to get those across the field, so I'm just going to pop in, open up the cabin, and I'll definitely be getting a fire on because it's going to be a cold day. Not sure if we'll see an appearance from the sun. It's a fairly clear sky, just the odd bit of cloud around, but it's going to take a while for it to come up, and a good while longer to thaw all this ice out. So I'll get opened up and get the fire on, move my stuff across from the car, and we'll see where we go from there. Well, that's the temperature in the garden room, which is literally just hovering below freezing point. You can see the well, it's on the outside, the ice on the plastic sheeting. I don't know if I'd have a look in here, to be honest. Oh, actually, what's that? It is above freezing. It's 1 degree. 1 degree. So, and you can see the condensation in those propagators. I'm guessing it's slightly warmer in there, but not a lot. I haven't even been in the cabin yet. I've just literally took the padlocks off. Let's have a... Oh, just a minute. I've forgotten something. It's a little... I'll not show this. There's a little security feature, which in my haste I forgot to deactivate before I came in. Yeah, so let's get that open and see what we've got here. Wow, look at that. That's between, if it'll focus, between 3 and 4. I'd say more 4 than 3 in the cabin, so there's quite a marked difference. Let me shut that door quick. A marked difference in the cabin. It is still cold though. Where's the solar sitting today? The solar is at 13, which doesn't surprise me because the panels I noticed were covered with a layer of ice and frost. So let me get myself sorted out. I just wanted to share that little bit with you before I started. I'll come back to you later. Well, it's certainly a bit cool this morning. We've actually got frozen water in the pond that I dug out. Still not much of it though. I've just been moving some stuff across from the car and a few other little jobs while I'm on before I sit down and make a coffee. I've got the fire going. I've been trying to get the ice off these solar panels. I can't reach the ones at the back, obviously, not without some step ladders, and I don't want to be doing that really this morning. Battery levels are okay, but I've got most of it off this, the first 2 panels, and that should quickly melt off now and just start popping a bit more power into the batteries. So I'll get myself finished off moving this stuff. We might have a little walk around the field while the kettle's boiling, and as usual we'll make it up as we go along. Well, this is just a very quick walk around. We've not done this for a while. The kettle is boiled. I just wanted to quickly have a run round because I said I would. You can see from the colour of the grass, it's a tad cold. Everything is looking very wintry. It is winter though, so why are we surprised? I just noticed as I was moving stuff from the car, got a little bit of standing water down this far end, which is, if you remember, where I was going to dig a second pond out this year, and then I'll either backfill the original pond in, or I might do something a little bit different in there and construct something. Shame on me, I still haven't moved that wildlife feeder, but it's been really chaotic lately, and I'll perhaps tell you about that when I get sat down with my coffee in the cabin. But I just thought I'd quickly have a run round. You can see how it looks. Very cold, but more importantly, this area where I was going to put the pond, you can just see now as I come to this end of the field, there's a little bit of standing water here, and then there's this bigger area which is where I was talking about putting the pond, and that's holding water now without any digging. So in theory this should be the right place. I guess we'll find out during the year, but that is frozen over. You can see, well, you can hear it cracking. I just stick my foot on there, now you can see the ice. So it is cold. Anyway, I'm going to get myself back down to the cabin and get that cup of coffee and warm myself up a little bit. So I'll catch you in a minute. Well, good morning on what is another cold morning. It was -4 when I got in the car. I'll just pop a little snippet in here. So that was the dashboard as I started the car up this morning, and there was a bit of ice to scrape off the windows, and gradually as I made my way down, I'm watching the temperature gauge in the car stubbornly sitting there. By the time I got to the field though, a bit of a different story. You'll have seen the temperatures that I put on. It's now a balmy 8 degrees. Thanks to the little wood burning stove. You can probably see my hands. They're a bit grey looking where I've been lighting the fire. So we've got another weekend. And what a week it's been this week. Before I forget, thanks for everybody who turned up on the video last weekend, and congratulations to Bob, Dan and Ron, who were the winners of the prize giveaway. I know that Bob has received the vacuum sealer, because he's actually told me. Dan and Ron, yours have been posted out, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that by now you've both received your prizes. So just put me a note somewhere to say that you've got those okay. So yeah, here we are, another weekend, and it's been a crazy week. Last weekend I was complaining about freezing temperatures. They did disappear over the weekend, and we've had a complete week of storm, force winds, heavy rain, and there's been quite a bit of flooding in different parts of the UK. The area here at the cabin, that was on flood alert. Those of you who've been around for a while, you'll know that last year and the winter of 2019-2020, we did have similar storm conditions and flooding in parts of the country, and thankfully the field here didn't flood. There was a little bit of standing water in some places, but it didn't flood. Neighbouring fields, I know that my neighbour Gary has got some in his field, and then further along where the horses are, there's quite a bit in that field. My own area where I live, that also was on flood alert. My little town, village, call it what you will, it doesn't flood, but there have been some small-scale flooding in the fields as I drive in. There's certainly a lot of standing water there, which is going to make life a little bit difficult again for the farmers with the planting. Where I work, it's actually a different area. That's been on flood alert all week. There has been some flooding, thankfully not at work, because we've had 2 serious floods there in recent years, which actually shut the place where I work down for, well, it actually took us about 3 months to get rid of the flood water and to dry out and repair some of the machinery. But fingers crossed, this year there's been a lot of flood defence work done and we've not flooded. Although there were there was a lot of nervousness during the past week, but hopefully that's gone now. So some of you might have seen a little note I put on the community page on the YouTube channel, just highlighting the flooding that's been going on in different parts of the country. We've had towns and villages evacuated, and there's been lots of news reporting this week showing the rescue services in dinghies sailing down the high streets of some villages, rescuing people from their homes. And the point I was making in that little comment on my community page was that it doesn't have to be a full-blown COVID-style pandemic to cause chaos. Things like flooding or drought or power cuts, water cuts, even on a small scale, can cause chaos, certainly for the people who live in those areas, and disruption to their day-to-day life, but also impact on the supply chain. So it doesn't have to be a huge disaster for you to suddenly have a chaos in your life where you might live. So it is worth just remembering that. These little reminders do serve to tell us why it is important to keep on top of your prepping and to be ready for stuff like this as and when it happens. Well, 2021 certainly will be a chaotic year. We're already seeing an impact on jobs, the economy, and there is more of that to come. I've no doubt that during the course of the year that'll feature highly in lots of the videos that I do put out. Today, plans for today, I have brought some stuff from home. You'll have seen that big package that I was wheeling across the field earlier. That's another rainwater collection barrel to go with the one that I installed recently on the garden room. So at some point today I'll get that set up outside. I've got to unpack it all first because there's a few bits and pieces inside. The connections for the hose and the taps need to go on, and I just need to check to see what pipe work I might have to connect those 2 barrels together. Other plans for today, I've topped up my water purification system for drinking water. I am still having issues with the temperature and freezing pipes. I thought we'd seen the back of that because all week it's been above freezing, but lo and behold today, as I set off, it was -4. I've not physically checked, but I suspect there might be some ice still in the pipework for the water system at the kitchen part here in the cabin. But I have brought down a solution, or a potential solution, and I'll be looking at that, so there'll be a little video clip of that as I go through the day. Other than that, it is still very cold in the garden room. I'm not entirely sure that those seeds will germinate over the coming couple of weeks, but fingers crossed, you never know, they might. But I am going to pot up some more of those fabric style potato planter. They're not really tubs, but you know what they are, you've seen them. Put some more of those out with compost just to have those ready. I'll give that first bag, sack, whatever you want to call it, another couple of weeks to see what happens. And then irrespective of what happens with that, I will put some more potato tubers in, certainly into 1, maybe 2, we'll see. And the idea of that really is just to try and get that succession planting over the course of the next few weeks until we start to head into that little bit milder weather, and we can get perhaps some more seed trays potted up. So as always, it's a bit of an experiment. This is really the first proper winter that the cabin's been up. And it'll be the start of the second year of planting, and as you know, I have got lots of ambitions to try and build up my own self-sufficiency garden as we go through this year. And the real objective is to just see how much I do need to plant out to be able to harvest all the way through the year. Clearly that is going to take quite a few weeks and perhaps months yet before we start to see the first plants that are ready for harvest, but that's the ambition. So hopefully you'll stick with me through the year to see how that works out. In terms of the rest of the weekend, it won't be down here at the cabin. I will pop in at some point tomorrow just to check on things. But I'm trying to do a bit of work on the long-term food storage. You remember, I think it was the week before last, I had a comment off the live stream about what would you do if somebody came around asking for food, you know, family members turning up in a something hit the fan scenario, and what would you give them if you would give them something. And that was going to be the theme of the video. What do you need to supply somebody for a week's worth of food, and off the back of that give you some kind of an idea of what you might need to store for you or your family to get you through 3 months, 6 months or a year. Trying to come up with that video is not as easy as it might sound. There is a lot of calculation to be done as to portion size, and also a little bit of work to be done to try and get a bit of variety in the different meals for each day through that week. So whether I'll actually achieve that and get a finished video this weekend, I don't know. It has just been chaotic this week at work. We've been on flood alert, and really I've spent a lot of time either working late or going in early, and I just haven't had time at home to do anything this week at all. So if you were expecting a video to pop up, apologies that it hasn't, but it is really difficult on the best of days to juggle the work, home and YouTube video life. There's always something competing for the amount of time that I do have. But hopefully as we pass through this this winter season and I end up with a bit more free time, then the frequency of videos will also increase. And who knows, as we go through next week, if it is calm maybe we can get a live stream done as well. But for now, I'm going to get this coffee because I've not really touched it while I've been sat here chatting away with you. I will do some video clips of what I'm up to during the day, but again, it's not going to be a really long day today, I suspect, because there's no big construction projects to do, and I do want to try and dedicate a little bit of time to doing that long-term food store video. So I'm going to get this down me, and I'll catch up with you as we go through the rest of the time down here today. Well, first things first, I brought this electric heater down today. I've just popped a couple of little feet onto that. But essentially the idea is that this is a 60, they say 60 watt, but I've actually put it onto a meter at home to see what the draw was on power, and it actually runs at 66 watts. So these two little brackets, they're just loose fitted for now. Essentially the idea is that I'll screw this to the wall in the cabinet under the kitchen sink, which is where the water feed comes in, and the little gas boiler sits down there as well. I'll plug that in to this timer so that I can set, I've popped out just as an experiment a couple of these pins, which will then trigger the electric supply at various times. There's quite a bit through the day, because through the day I'll be drawing power direct from the panels outside, so I'm not worried about draw on the battery. And then through the night, every couple of hours it just flicks on for 30 minutes through the night. And the idea is that this will then keep an ambient temperature above freezing under that kitchen cabinet. You never know, it might actually give me above freezing throughout the whole cabin, who knows. It's an experiment, as everything is. So I'll try that tonight and see how we get on, and I'll check it in the morning, and more importantly I'll check my battery status to see just exactly how much power it has drawn out. Fingers crossed, I'm praying that it doesn't suck the battery dry. I guess we'll find out in the morning, but that's the plan. I'll put that little tube heater onto my 220 volt mains power supply off the batteries, and we'll see what happens. Wish me luck with that. Well, that's the tube heater fitted. It's just inside the cabinet here, just under the kitchen sink. So hopefully, I've just popped that on now just to test it, and it is heating up. There's a, you'll see on that if I turn it around, yeah, you can see the light there. So it is actually on a thermostat of its own, so as it reaches temperature on here, it will click off once it reaches temperature, or the ambient temperature around that thermostat. So we'll see, I guess, what happens. I'll monitor it during the course of the day and check the battery level. But at the moment, what have we got? We've got 13.1. I mean, it is drawing from the panels now because it's daylight, even though there isn't much daylight out there. It is drawing from the panels rather than sucking the battery dry, because obviously the panels are topping the battery up. But we'll see, I guess. There it is. I'll keep you posted. Well, we're just going to set about unpacking this extremely well packed barrel, which might take a while, so rather than watching me dig through this plastic, I'll come back to you once it's actually all opened up. Well, I've unpacked that extra water butt, and I've put a paving slab down for it to sit on next to the existing one. However, as always, it seems there is a flaw in the plan. There's pre-drilled holes in the bottom of the barrels so that you can link them together, as indeed there are in the top for like an overflow pipe. And for some reason, and I don't know why, because they're exactly the same barrel, the one that came today doesn't have this little elbow pipe fitting to go in the bottom of the barrel. The idea was that there were two of those, one for the first barrel, one for the second barrel, and then you link them together with a hose. Now the first barrel came with this little elbow, which is great, but the second one hasn't. So I've got the second barrel in place, I've got the linking connection elbow in place in the bottom of the barrel, but I'm missing one because that one is from the first barrel. So I'm a bit buggered really. I can't put that second elbow into this existing barrel to link the two together. So I've just tried contacting the supplier, but it's Saturday, so they're closed. So I am buggered now until Monday morning when they open, so that I can get this second elbow, which is a bit of a shame because I was hoping to fill that one today. But these things are sent to try us, so it's in place. I just can't connect them today. Well, I've got myself some more of those little fabric containers, and I've brought some more compost in, so I'm just going to busy myself. I'll fill those up. I'll probably bring a few more pots in just to run along this raised bed and fill that raised bed. I won't plant them all yet, obviously, but I am tempted to pop another container of potatoes in, and I might plant something else, whether it's carrots or perhaps pop something into these other seed trays. I don't know yet, I haven't made my mind up. I do make it up as I go along, you know this already. So I'm just going to fill those up. Kettle's on to boil, and I'll grab myself another coffee. Well, I just couldn't resist. I've just popped those 4 potatoes in there that's got some chits growing on them. So I'll get those covered up and fill the rest of the bags, and then we'll sit down for 5 minutes. Well, this is something I've not planted, or I didn't plant in 2020, and that's Swede. So exact same as before really. We'll just pop a couple in each of these modules in the tray, and we'll see how we get on with these. I mean, this is a plant that you can put in. I could, I suppose in theory, put this outside now because it is a hardy plant, but if I put them in here, hopefully it'll just give them a bit of a head start. Don't know if you call this the same in the US, but Swede, it's a turnip, but it's a sweeter turnip. Very nice if you have carrot, potato and Swede all mashed up in the same pan. Again, it might be a bit ambitious trying to put these out now, but if you don't try, you'll never know, will you? Just same as I did before, just pop in a couple of a couple of seeds into each of the modules. The trick now is, can I get them back in the packet? Yeah, I think there's maybe a stray one dropped in there somewhere, but it's all a learning curve, so we'll just pop those down. I will, as I did with the other one, put a little bit of water on these, but literally just a spray. Just make sure that the seeds are in contact with the compost. Just firm these down. So there we go, 23rd of January, and we're putting Swedes in. Let's see what happens with those. Temperature in here is 2 degrees, so it is probably still a wee bit early, but with the cover over, hopefully they'll be okay. I'll pop back and just give them a little bit of a misting over with some water. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. Well, as usual, the day is just flying by. We've managed to get a few bits and pieces done. Got that water heater installed under the kitchen cabinet. It's not doing too bad actually. I just keep checking the solar to see how much it's sucking out of the batteries. There is quite a bit of power draw on there, because outside the sun has just failed to materialise at all. It is a grey overcast day. I'm a little bit worried actually that it might be snowing later. Certainly the sky is full of something, and I don't think it's rain, because it's that kind of grey white sky rather than a dark black clouds. So you never know, we might be having snow later. You can hear the fire crackling away there. So the temperature in the cabin actually is not too bad. It's outside in the garden room and the polytunnel where it's distinctly cold. So I've got myself some more of those cloth containers, buckets, bags, whatever you want to call them, lined out with compost, and I've planted one. So I've now got 2 sets of potatoes underway. I've put some turnips, sorry, I've put some Swedes, they look like turnips, Swede seeds into one of the little propagating trays in that covered raised bed. So again, we'll see how those go. And I've not really had many comments on whether or not I should be planting now, particularly in a cold room like the garden room, apart from one which said it's too cold. And you might well be right, because it is cold. Well, it's just really hovering 2-3 degrees in the garden room now. I have noticed it was at 4 earlier, but this last hour or so it seems to have got quite a bit colder. So I don't know. As with everything, it is an experiment. It is a big learning curve, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day. They'll either take now, or they'll just sit there for the next 3 or 4 weeks, stubbornly refusing to do anything until the weather does warm up outside. But I've mentioned in my videos quite a few times, unless you try this stuff, you're never going to know what works and what doesn't. And as preppers, really, that's 90% of the battle, is experience and trying things and finding out what works and what doesn't. You're never going to know if it's possible for you to be self-sufficient in food. By that I mean plants rather than animals, unless you do this and you give it a go. And And really the space in that garden room is not huge. And if you take the combined spread of the raised beds outside, even including the polytunnel, again, the area isn't that big. It's really the size of a medium garden for a house. So if you haven't tried growing your own food, then I would suggest maybe this year is the year to have a go, even if it's just pots and buckets on your patio, or even a balcony for that matter. It is all valuable experience that you're going to gain by experimenting with these and seeing what works and doesn't, because there would be nothing worse than a total grid down and the shops are empty, and you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. So with that in mind, forgive me if I am planting too early and you're an expert gardener, but really I just want to see what is possible in the garden room and out in the raised beds at different times of the year. We'll see what happens with these. As I said before, they'll either work or they won't work, but at least we'll know for sure. And by doing what I'm doing now and looking at the temperatures, and I'm gaining all the time more knowledge about how to get your garden going, and realistically when is the earliest that you can do it. So it'll be an interesting journey over the next few weeks. I am hoping though that we do start to see some warmer temperatures over the next few weeks, because I am keen to see those little green shoots start to appear. Anyway, I'm going to get this coffee down me. It's been a disappointing day with the water barrels. I don't know why that particular little component wasn't in that second barrel, because they are exactly the same brand, same size, same everything. But hey ho, it is what it is, and these things are sent to test us. But one thing's for sure, at some point over this coming week, by hook or by crook, I will have one, and next weekend that second barrel will be up and running. So that's it. I'm going to get this down me, and it will soon be time, I think, to be going home and looking at that food video that I've been desperately trying to do. I guess you'll find out later. Well, that's it for another day. It is surprising how quickly the day goes, and it's still very, very grey. No sign of that sun, but there's something in the sky. There were no clouds this morning, now it's packed with cloud, so I'm just praying it's not going to be snow. Anyway, everything's locked up, panels are clear, so they're pumping some juice into the battery. Fire's just dying down in the wood burning stove, so I'm going to get myself off home, get something to eat, and once I've done today's video I'll set about trying to get this food one done. Time, always it's time, but hopefully it'll not be long before it's done and I can share it with you. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. How about the temperatures? To be honest, I wasn't expecting another -4. I thought we'd seen the back of that. So it is debatable whether or not those seeds are going to germinate anytime soon. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.